Ethan Cross ran through the cratered streets of the colony. Fire burned in the distance. Smoke filled the sky. The screams of the dying mixed with the wail of sirens. He ducked under a twisted metal beam and pulled a young woman behind him. She shook and pointed at the sky. Alien ships hovered, black and angular, their engines cutting the silence with deep hums. Beams of energy slashed through buildings, turning homes into ash. Ethan grabbed her arm. "Move!" They ran past shattered walls, over debris, stepping on broken glass and scorched metal. The ground shook as another explosion threw him to the side. He hit the dirt hard and rolled. When he looked up, half the street was gone. Bodies lay twisted. He swallowed the fear rising in his chest and kept running. Through the chaos, Ethan's mind worked fast. They needed shelter. They needed a plan. He spotted an abandoned transport hangar. He pulled the woman inside, slamming the heavy door behind them. The smell of smoke and burning oil choked the small space. He could hear the alien patrols scanning outside. Their boots clicked over metal plating. Their voices were sharp, alien sounds, impossible to translate, but terrifying. Ethan knelt, pulling out a small communication device. It barely worked. He tapped a sequence and sent a coded message to Earth Command. "Colony under attack. Full wipeout. Need reinforcements." The device hissed, then sparked. Nothing else happened. He cursed under his breath. "Are they going to kill us?" the woman whispered. Her voice trembled. Ethan's jaw tightened. "They want to test us. See how far we will let them go. But we survive. We fight back. That is all we can do." He knew it sounded empty, but he needed to say it. He had to hold them together. The hangar door shuddered. Ethan pulled his rifle from his back. He pressed his body against the wall and waited. Alien footsteps grew louder. The door rattled. A sharp laser cut a hole through the metal. Sparks flew. The woman screamed. Ethan fired blindly into the smoke. The aliens hesitated for a moment, then advanced with strange, synchronized precision. He grabbed her hand and ran through a narrow maintenance tunnel. The corridor was dark and tight. His heart pounded in his chest. Every sound felt amplified. Every step could be their last. They emerged near a damaged transport shuttle. Ethan pushed the controls. The engines whined and coughed. Smoke poured from the back. It was barely functional, but it was all they had. He helped the woman inside and secured the hatch. The alien footsteps were close now. They could hear the hum of the ships above and the distant sound of energy weapons slicing through the colony. Ethan took a deep breath. He checked the shuttle's systems and whispered to himself, "We might make it." The engines roared and lifted them off the ground. Flames lit the horizon below. Entire city blocks burned like paper. From above, he could see alien formations moving like predators, sweeping through the colony. His stomach turned. He had lost half the unit before even reaching the shuttle. Friends, civilians, children, gone. He turned to the woman. She looked pale, her eyes wide with fear. Ethan clenched his fists. "We survive. We warn Earth. We fight. That is our only chance." He felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Then the shuttle's sensors flickered. An incoming signal appeared, alien in origin. It intercepted his message. A cold, metallic voice spoke in a language he did not understand. And then he saw it. Hundreds of ships emerging from hyperspace above the planet. The sky darkened. The hangar explosions below looked small now. The real attack had just begun. Ethan's shuttle broke through the upper atmosphere. He looked down at the colony, now a burning wasteland. Fires burned in streaks, smoke rising like black towers. He tightened his grip on the controls. His mind raced. Earth had to know what was coming. Command center on Earth was a hive of panic. Alarms blared. Screens showed the incoming alien fleet. Ethan's message arrived, delayed, and scrambled. General Hayes, the new leader of Earth Command, read it and slammed a fist on the table. "Prepare for immediate counterstrike. Hayes barked. "We cannot wait. Humanity cannot be caught off guard again." Ethan and the woman, Maria, landed on the nearest human stronghold, a reinforced orbital station. Soldiers rushed past, checking weapons, sealing bulkheads, loading dropships. Ethan's unit was assigned to lead a guerrilla strike back to the colony. It was a suicide mission, but he had no choice. The humans had to show they could fight. Ethan looked at the squad. Faces were young, hardened, scared. Lieutenant Mason stood beside him, still shaken from the shuttle landing. They loaded weapons and gear, faces tight with tension. "We hit them fast. We hit them smart. No hesitation," Ethan said. "They underestimate us. That is our advantage." The dropships launched, engines screaming. Through the viewport, the alien ships were huge black silhouettes moving with perfect coordination. Ethan's stomach tightened. These creatures were not just fighters, they were hunters, predators. The landing zone was a crater where part of the colony had survived. Ethan's team disembarked, boots clanging on scorched metal. The wind carried smoke and ash. Every shadow could hide an enemy. The first shots came fast. Alien drones hovered, firing energy beams that cut through walls and concrete. Humans returned fire, lasers cracking, explosions shaking the ground. Ethan led the squad down a street lined with ruined buildings. "Keep moving. Watch corners." The team split, covering alleys, suppressing fire. Mason called out, "Ethan, over here." They found a group of survivors, terrified and trapped in a collapsed structure. Ethan directed them, pulling debris, organizing escape routes. Every second, aliens adapted, moving faster, predicting patterns. Humans were outnumbered and outgunned, but Ethan saw their hesitation, their reliance on predictable patterns. He exploited it, drawing them into narrow passages where the alien numbers counted for nothing. They pushed forward, gaining ground. But Mason suddenly disappeared in a blinding beam of light. Ethan lunged, but it was too late. Mason's scream echoed in his ears. Rage filled him, hotter than fear. Ethan took a deep breath and pressed on. He could not afford to stop. Every move mattered. Every human life depended on their precision. They struck alien supply depots, sabotaged weapons, ambushed patrols. Humans were chaos in motion. The aliens did not understand the unpredictability. But the aliens fought back harder. Heavy walkers stomped through streets, shields deflecting attacks. Energy blasts turned the ground into molten metal. Ethan's squad fell back under fire, regrouping inside a half-destroyed factory. Sweat and blood streaked his face. Every step was survival. Every decision, life or death. Ethan looked at the survivors he managed to protect. They were breathing hard, trembling, but alive. He felt a spark of hope. Then a new alarm flashed on his comm. Alien broadcast intercepted. A chilling image appeared on all screens. Mason, alive, bound, surrounded by alien soldiers. A symbol of human defiance carved into his chest. The aliens were going to make an example of him. Ethan gritted his teeth. "No, we get him back, no matter what." His heart hammered. He knew the next strike had to be precise, deadly, and personal. The aliens were not just fighting a war. They were testing human patience, human courage, and Ethan knew that test was far from over. Ethan moved through the ruins of the colony, shadows stretching from burning buildings. Every step felt heavy. Mason's capture burned in his mind. He could not let his friend be used as a symbol of fear. He scanned the area, searching for a way into the alien fortress. It was massive, black metal, almost alive with humming energy. Alien patrols moved in tight formations. Every step wrong could mean death. He signaled to his small strike team. They crept along narrow passages, using debris for cover. Each corridor twisted into unknown spaces. Ethan's pulse raced. He knew the fortress would be full of traps. Every alien had weapons far beyond human design. Yet they were not unbeatable. Not if humans used their unpredictability. They reached a side entrance. Ethan pried it open, metal groaning. Inside, the fortress was cold, metallic, alive with alien machinery. Lights pulsed like veins, walls gliding silently. He led his team through the maze, every sound amplified, every shadow suspicious. Alien drones hovered silently, scanning for life. Suddenly, they found a chamber filled with alien archives. Ethan crouched over glowing data panels. His mind raced. This was it. This was proof that the aliens had wiped out entire species, one after another. They had underestimated humans. They assumed emotion and creativity made humans weak. Ethan's lips tightened. He read the patterns, the records of species destroyed because they fought predictably. He turned to his team. They are not invincible. They make mistakes. They think we are predictable. That is why we survive. That is why we strike. His voice was low but firm. Explosions shook the corridors. The aliens were aware of the breach. Ethan's squad moved fast. Laser fire lit up the hallways. He ducked behind a support beam, firing at drones. Sparks flew and metal twisted. One of his men went down, hit by a precise alien shot. Ethan's stomach clenched, but he could not stop. They reached the detention level. Prison cells lined the hallways, energy bars humming. Mason was inside one of the cells. Ethan grabbed the control panel. The locks hissed, refusing to open. Alien soldiers approached. He fired, forcing them back. He punched the controls again, sweat dripping from his forehead. Mason saw him and shouted, "Ethan, hurry!" The sound gave him strength. He smashed the panel and the cell door snapped open. Mason stumbled out, exhausted but alive. Ethan grabbed his arm, pulling him toward cover. The team moved quickly through the fortress, aliens in pursuit. Ethan felt the cold metal floor vibrate with the footsteps of the alien warlord. The figure appeared ahead, towering, armor dark, weapon glowing. It paused, studying them. The warlord's gaze was sharp, calculating. Ethan felt a chill, but his resolve hardened. They ducked into a maintenance tunnel, hoping to escape. Behind them, the fortress erupted in chaos. Alarms blared. Fire spread across the metallic walls. The aliens' own machines turned against them from human sabotage. Ethan glanced at Mason, who was breathing hard. "We made it this far, but this is far from over," Ethan said. A loud rumble shook the tunnel. Alien reinforcements poured in from the other end. Ethan's team was surrounded. His fingers tightened on the rifle. He knew every move now would mean survival or death. The tunnel doors at the far end began to close automatically. Sparks flew as Ethan ran toward them. He grabbed Mason's arm and lunged, the doors slamming shut just as alien weapons fired from behind. The echo of shots reverberated through the tunnel. They were inside a dark, narrow shaft, trapped but alive. Ethan looked at Mason and nodded. "This is where we fight. We are not finished yet." Above them, the fortress pulsed, alive with energy, and the real battle for the human survival had only begun. Ethan's team emerged from the maintenance shaft into the open hangar of the alien fortress. Sparks and smoke filled the air. The floor was slick with oil and debris. Alien walkers stomped through the area, lasers slicing the metal walls. Ethan's squad opened fire, ducking behind crates and machinery. Every shot counted, every move was calculated. "Flank left!" Ethan shouted. His voice cut through the chaos. Soldiers responded instantly, moving in tight formation. Humans were small, but they were fast and unpredictable. They struck at the aliens' blind spots, disabling weapons and engines. Above them, the alien fleet moved in orbit. The sky outside the fortress windows glowed red with energy weapons firing at human positions on the planet. Ethan knew they could not hold the hangar long. They needed a way to turn the tide. Suddenly, Lieutenant Harper, one of Ethan's most trusted soldiers, ran toward him, face pale. "Ethan, we have a problem. Commander Daniels is trying to surrender the Eastern Post. He wants to save his own people. He is risking the mission." Ethan's fists clenched. Betrayal at this moment could cost them everything. "We stop him, now." He grabbed a small squad and raced through corridors, dodging laser fire and collapsing ceilings. Explosions shook the walls. Every second was life or death. They reached the post just as Daniels opened the gates to the alien patrol. Ethan fired his rifle, forcing the traitor to retreat. "You gamble with everyone's lives," Ethan spat. Daniels hesitated, then turned away, fear and shame on his face. The humans reclaimed the post, barely holding against alien reinforcements. Ethan's team regrouped, sweat and blood streaking their faces. "We strike at the fleet," he said. "We use what we captured from their archives. We are not weak. We are chaos. We are human." They set up captured alien cannons, reverse-engineered enough to fire back at the orbiting fleet. The first shots hit, tearing through shields and knocking out engines. The aliens roared, surprised by the human counterattack. Ethan moved like a shadow, coordinating attacks, giving orders, and covering his team. But the aliens were relentless. A massive walker stomped toward their position. Ethan fired, then jumped aside as the blast missed him by inches. Sparks flew across the floor. Soldiers fell. Ethan dragged one of the wounded behind cover, pressing his hand to a bleeding shoulder. "We hold here or we die," Ethan shouted. The squad returned fire, targeting weak points. Explosions rocked the hangar. The aliens retreated briefly, regrouping for a stronger strike. Ethan's eyes burned with determination. Every human life, every civilian, every soldier depended on them now. Then the communications panel flickered. A distorted alien signal appeared. The face on the screen was twisted, alien, and calm. The warlord spoke in a language Ethan did not understand, but the threat was clear. Mason's voice came through the panel, trembling. "Ethan, they are coming for us all. They know your location. We cannot hold them." Ethan clenched his jaw. He looked at the squad, counting the wounded and the alive. "Then we fight. We do not fall. Not now, not ever." His voice was a spark in the darkness. Above them, the hangar doors shook violently. Alien ships began breaking through the outer defenses, flooding the area with more soldiers. Ethan knew the next minutes would decide everything. Every human in the fortress, and perhaps the fate of the colony, depended on their next move. He took a deep breath and whispered, "Let them come." The aliens did, and the battle for survival escalated to a deadly crescendo. Ethan led the remaining squad through the wreckage of the hangar. Smoke choked the air. Fires burned across the metallic floor. Alien ships hovered above, firing relentlessly. Every step was a fight. Every breath could be the last. They reached the elevator shaft that led to the fortress core. Ethan pressed the button, the metal doors groaning. They descended into darkness. The hum of alien machinery grew louder. Sparks flew from damaged conduits. The squad gripped weapons tightly, eyes sharp. Mason walked beside Ethan, bruised but determined. "We finish this now," Ethan said. Mason nodded. They had no choice. Humanity's survival depended on what they did next. They emerged into the core chamber. The alien warlord waited, towering, energy weapon raised. Surrounding it were machines, pulsing with power. Ethan's team took cover, returning fire. Lasers and energy beams collided, sending sparks and smoke into the air. The ground shook under explosions. Ethan ran, diving behind a fallen console. He fired, calculated, precise. Mason joined him, targeting weak points in the alien defenses. Humans moved with chaos, unpredictability. The warlord roared, advancing, destroying machines with massive strikes. Each blow made the chamber shake, steel groaning under pressure. Ethan spotted the control panel powering the fortress shields. He dashed across the floor, dodging blasts. A massive beam cut the floor inches from his feet. He rolled, grabbed the panel, and began dismantling it. Sparks flew. Smoke filled the room. Mason covered him, firing relentlessly at the advancing aliens. One of the squad went down, hit by a close-energy blast. Ethan's stomach tightened. He shouted, "Keep moving! Do not stop!" The team pressed forward, relentless. Every human life mattered. Every second was precious. Finally, the panel gave way. Shields flickered and failed. Ethan and Mason took advantage, targeting the alien machines with the captured weapons. Explosions ripped through the fortress core. The warlord roared, stumbling as systems failed. Humans pushed forward, relentless, fierce, unstoppable. The fortress began to collapse. Ethan grabbed Mason's arm and ran toward the exit. Debris fell. Fires spread. Alarms screamed. Alien soldiers tried to block their path, but the humans fought through. Every strike precise, every shot counted. They reached the surface. The sky was dark with smoke and fire. The alien fleet above faltered as humans fired captured weapons, taking down massive ships one by one. Ethan looked at Mason, breathing hard. Blood streaked across both their faces. Humanity had won this battle, but at great cost. Ethan scanned the horizon. Other colonies sent signals of resistance. Humans were rising everywhere. Across the planet, survivors emerged, fighting back, inspired. The aliens had misjudged humanity. They had assumed weakness. They had underestimated courage, creativity, and will. Ethan turned to Mason. "This is just the beginning," he said. Mason nodded, understanding. The fight was not over. Humanity had sent a message that would echo across the stars. A signal flickered on Ethan's comm. It was alien in origin. A new threat, larger and more organized than before. Ethan's jaw tightened. "They are coming," he whispered. Mason looked at him, eyes wide. "And we fight again." Ethan nodded, fists clenched. The fires of humanity's defiance burned brighter than any star. Every species in the galaxy would remember the day humanity's patience ended.